There's a guy by the name of Jeffrey Sachs who's appeared a few times on, MSNBC and the mainstream media that has actually been interesting because he's one of the few people that actually have rational thinking, and that's why he's only allowed to go on at certain points and very few times that they actually allow him to speak. And he was actually one of the very few people that would actually sit down and have rational uh, thoughts and opinions when it came to, the war in Syria, when it came to Afghanistan, when it came to the occupation of our military across the world. He was one of the people that actually sat down and thought rationally about foreign affairs. And the guy is a very interesting person. He's very, he speaks a lot of truth. Speaks a lot of truth, which is why it's very hard to find certain clips of him because the media continues to snub that away for the war machine and for, the military contractors that are advertising on the, mainline networks. But I want to show this because this is very interesting. Is recently it was National Refugee Day or something like that, and people have been making big deals about the fact that when Trump became president and he put that Muslim ban on, that everyone got exacerbated over the fact that we're not allowing Arabs coming into the country. It's definitely racist, xenophobic, stuff like that. But to me, it did seem racist and xenophobic to say something like that. But what's more racist and xenophobic? Not having them enter into airports, or the fact that we've been bombing them for about 10, 20 years? That kind of ticks me off a bit more than having a Muslim ban entering airports. And people were exaggerating more on the Trump side of it than understanding the full picture of the fact that the reason why this is happening is because, and the reason why we have a refugee crisis, the reason why we have high immigration, the reason why people are, caravans are crossing the border, is because of U.S. occupation that's destroying other countries that are causing this refugee crisis to exist. And don't take my word from it, because Jeffrey Sachs, as you're about to see here, is going to speak about this, and he's going to spew facts about the manufactured crisis of the war machine, creating the refugee crisis, creating the immigration situation where caravans of people are coming from Latin America, that we've overturned their democratically elected government, we screwed over their economics, and people were forced to leave for survival. And while people like to blame those people for seeking survival, they like to blame people with no money and no power, it's the people that have been responsible for overturning the country that's causing these crises. But take a listen to this.
Where did the refugees come from? I don't mean did they come from Syria or Afghanistan, that we know. But why did they come? Okay, they came because of war. Where did the war come from? From my country. From the CIA, which first started to overthrow the Afghan government back in 1979. The U.S. has been involved in Afghanistan in war, both covert and overt, for nearly 40 years. Iraq, absolutely against international law, of course, perhaps often called the most dreadful foreign policy decision in modern times. An absolutely unprovoked war.
But we had to, because we had to stop the terror over there. That's what we've been told. We got to stop the terror. They have weapons of mass destruction. It's not in my office, not under here, not over there. We don't know where it is, but they got terror. As George W. Bush is finger painting and doing masterclass. The most outrageous criminal terrorist known imaginable is sitting at his ranch in Texas doing finger paints. while we kill innocent babies and children overseas. Just again, another visual reminder of how we're occupied and controlled by the biggest, toughest criminals known imaginable. And the reason we don't know about it is because the mainstream media is bought out by those criminals to not investigate them.
Killed hundreds of thousands, displaced millions, created disaster, blowback, and refugees. And what about Syria? Was that really the result of the protests on the ground? No.
TYT will tell you that it's because of the nefarious Assad and people like Aaron Mate who side with them. Fuck that journalist. It's because of Assad poisoning his own people, and that's why CNN had to go over there and sniff a bunch of backpacks. That's why. And it turns out it was a false flag. When you actually go over there and investigate and actually read through the history, yeah, we wanted to occupy Syria just as much as Iraq, just as much as Afghanistan. We had this playbook set up that even former generals have declared on air that, the United States wanted to intervene in these countries for dominant control. That's been their playbook since the 70s. And probably even before then. Like 1953, they overthrew the Mossadegh and installed the dictators in Iran. And this is stuff you're not being told in mainstream media. Well, again, people are pissed off that Donald Trump put on this Muslim ban saying that's xenophobic and racist. What's more xenophobic and racist? Not allowing Muslims in airports or bombing their villages to the point that Muslims have to enter in America and are forced here to survival. What seems more the xenophobic, racist part?
That was the result of a decision of the United States and Saudi Arabia and France and others to try to overthrow Bashar al-Assad.
And that's why it is difficult to find clips for him. I kid you not. The minute I saw this appear on my Twitter line, I immediately had to save it. I immediately had to put it in my favorites. I had to bookmark it. I had to make sure it was in a safe lock because this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy really speaks the facts because he actually sits down, understands the history, looks into things, and actually has an objective view of the intervention of U.S. being involved in these countries. Not for the fact of humanitarianism, not the fact that we're bringing them democracy or we're saving, liberating the people from the evils of the world and stopping terror. We're the ones that are causing terror. We create terror to stop terror. It's a business model. The reason why we have terrorists is because we installed them. We created them so we can go fight terror and the war machine continues. And you're never going to hear this on mainstream media. You're never going to hear this anywhere. Not even the progressive YouTube sites that, the podcasters that are saying that they're supposed to be lefties. They're not even saying about this. They're still saying that Donald Trump is the evil one because of the Muslim ban. Well, how about the 40 years of intervention of war that caused this to begin with? How about the fact that we caused terror to spark this movement? How about the fact that we scapegoated and did all this shit? We've done it since the 50s. And no one seems to care. No one seems to care. And, people should be asking these questions. Why does the U.S. still have forces in Syria? Why are we occupying still a third of Syria? Because of the oil. Even Trump said that. It's because of the oil. And they don't want to admit to that. Trump was the only one who ever actually admitted to it. And people were fathomed by the idea that Trump committed a war crime. As if he's the only president to ever commit a war crime. Barack Obama turned 2 wars into 7. What does that tell you? And people adored him. People think he was the brightest, smartest president of our lifetime. He turned 2 wars into 7. The Bush administration orchestrated the biggest lie of national dissent against the American people to go to war in Iraq. Even the Clinton administration, they threw the most bombs in Kosovo during the Columbine attacks. And nobody ever blames him for creating violence. Nobody ever blames politics and the White House and foreign affairs and the administration that's orchestrating this. Nobody ever blames them for creating violence. But it's the mega people. It's the progressive, it's the lefties, it's this, it's that, it's teachers, it's kids, it's your neighbors, your friends, your family. It's whoever's underneath you. You have to blame the refugees. You blame the immigrants for taking your jobs away. Are they taking your jobs away? Or is the corporations giving the jobs to them and screwing you over? No one ever takes time to think that rationally. And just like even the Guardian points out, U.S. bombs are killing children in Yemen. Does anyone care? They won't care if they're watching mainstream media because no one's ever reported on it. But, people that have been viewing the war empire and have been understanding the foreign affairs of U.S. imperialism understand that the Yemen genocide is the most outrageous war crime against humanity. That we're starving children, that we're killing innocent people. And why are we doing this? Yemen hasn't attacked us. They're no threat to us. No, because we aligned ourselves with theocrat terrorists in Saudi Arabia to orchestrate this, because Saudi Arabia wants a piece of Yemen. So we go along with Saudi Arabia because they buy weapons from us. They're allies. They're business partners. Even though they behead their own people. They're the biggest theocratic terror state known imaginable. And we're siding with them. We're siding with them to do illegal genocides, killing innocent children. That's why I have no faith for, the White House cracking down on school shootings. Because if they don't care about children overseas that have nothing to do with the United States, have nothing to do with anything, that they're just trying to live normal lives, why would they care anything about American children in Texas or Michigan that are being shot down in school shootings? They don't give a shit. If they don't give a shit about this, they don't give a shit about your kids. But take it from Jeffrey Sachs. And I know it sounds crazy because his last name is Sachs, and you probably think Saks Fifth Avenue, he's some sort of rich guy. But he's actually the most rational person I've seen on mainstream media. And some things he gets right, some things he gets wrong. We're all human. Some things I disagree with him. But a lot of the time, he gets it. He nails it on the head. This is definitely on point. And like I said, more people are pissed off that Trump introduced this Muslim ban that they can enter into airports, and people got exacerbated over it, which again, without speculation, yeah, it does seem like it's xenophobic and racist. But what's more xenophobic and racist? That or the fact that we've been bombing these villages for 40 plus years that are causing this refugee crisis, that's causing this immigration, this crisis over the border. And that's why I always tell people, if you're against immigration, if you're against all these people pouring into the nation and screwing up the system, then why are you not anti-war? Why are you not stepping up against the war machine? Because that is causing the terror. That is causing your problem. If you're anti-immigrant, then you have to be anti-war. You can't be pro-war and then anti-immigrant, because those people are trying to cross into the border just to seek survival. And the ones that are truly screwing over you is not them. It's the oligarchy. It's the people that are telling you that they're the ones that are screwing you over. That's how you know you've been bought and controlled by ruthless thugs. The oligarchy is not to be trusted with at all. But does anyone care? That's what the Guardian's asking. That's what I've been asking. And that's what more people should be asking. And that's why like I said, I don't have any hope for them, saving kids, even in this country. Even in America, they don't save their own kids. Because they don't care about other kids in other countries. They don't care about the innocent. They don't care about that. They don't care about anyone's lives. So, them saying that they're going to stop school shootings or Biden's commitment to, it's just all hyperbole. It's just all talk and no action because, the truth speaks for itself.